I hope you're also doing fine. So basically in this video, I'm going to be talking about Canada, generally, just sharing my thoughts about, you know, moving to Canada. It's a question that I get from viewers occasionally, all the time. People want to know if it's worth it moving to Canada, especially as we go into a new year. And some people will be wondering, okay, so is it still worth it with the number of things that have happened in Canada this year? Is it still worth it to actually, pack one's life and decide to, move to a new country? Is it worth it? And in answering that question, what I would say is that it's a personal thing. It's a personal decision. So, of course, I'm going to share my thoughts, but at the end of the day, the decision to move out of your home country to a new country will always be a personal thing. It will always be a personal decision. No one can actually tell you what to do. You know, you you are the one who knows your reason for even considering it in the first place. And of course, I know that Canada is one of the popular destinations for people who are looking to migrate outside of their country. People from maybe the less developed countries. Canada is one of the top destinations, as is the US, as is the UK. And the very interesting thing is that these three countries that I mentioned have recently had a lot of things change in their policies that guide immigration. That shouldn't surprise anyone because since the pandemic, a lot of things have changed. And these countries are reevaluating their decisions, they are reevaluating their policies. So if the top destinations in the West where people migrate to are now changing their migration rules, it tells you something. It tells you that something has changed. An average Canadian used to like migrants, used to be in support of immigration. Like if you ask an average Canadian in the previous, say, 5 years, and ask them what do they think about people migrating into Canada, they would say it's a good thing, like it's helping the country, you know. But if you ask them today, the story has changed. And Canadians are, particularly no longer in support of immigration. And because of that, the government is tightening the rules and kind of closing the tap and limiting the number of people that can actually migrate into the country. And the reasons why this is happening would span, there are so many reasons. The first, maybe we'll talk about increase in housing costs. Cost of housing in Canada has skyrocketed. It's insane right now. And also the increase in the general cost of living, you know. And if you ask some people, they will tell you also that there are less job opportunities in Canada and also in the US and in the UK. These are the talking points. That there are less job opportunities, that there's low wages, which is caused by the influx of foreign workers, especially temporary workers who are usually, willing to accept low wages, maybe because of where they're coming from. And another reason would be pressure on healthcare. It's unfortunate now that the wait time at emergencies at the ER in Canada is unfortunately long, and occasionally we see news about people dying, after having waited for a long time before they're able to see a doctor and all that. In fact, I think I saw recently on social media of a man who went to the ER and he was asked to wait. And after waiting for about 6 hours, he went home and he died the next day because he had an issue, that could have been caught if the ER wasn't so, so busy, and if the staff at the ER were not so, so busy, and if they didn't have too many people to attend to. So that's also an issue. There's a lot of pressure on healthcare. There's a lot of pressure on infrastructure. So, you know, and also increase in crime rate. You see on social media where people talk about, oh, there's a lot of crime rate has increased, and of course, everybody blames the immigrants, if even though those things that are happening are not, are probably not the fault of immigrants. So it's just what is happening right now. A lot of things have changed, and things have changed in these places that, these countries that used to be the top, places where immigrants go to, immigrants like myself, anyways. Now, if you look at it, it seems like it's a global issue, and there's no perfect country, and there's no perfect society. So, if you're saying, do I really want to, you know, come to Canada at this time? There are some factors that you should consider, and I will try as much as possible to quickly talk about these factors. Having mentioned the reason why people in the Western world are no longer in support of mass immigration. However, there are still some ways through which people, still migrate into these countries legally. There are still some legal ways to come in, and if you're considering these legal ways, there are some things you should put into consideration, especially in 2025, considering the global economy, considering the fact that things has been, kind of predicted to be a bit tight in the year 2025. If you're coming to, if you're considering coming to Canada in the year 2025, I would ask you to know your reason, like know the reason you are making that decision. Is it because of more opportunity? Are you trying to move out of your country so that you can come to Canada and look for a better job? You know, are you coming because of your kids? Are you trying to give your kids better opportunity? Or have you been praying about coming to Canada and it's an answered prayer for you? For example, for me and my family, me and my wife, when we were coming to Canada, it was an answered prayer for us. On our jobs from back home, we were already aching for some sort of change in our career. We're looking for something new, something better, right? For me, I had felt stuck on the spot on the job that I was doing from back home, and I wanted to kind of move to somewhere where I would have better opportunity, where I would be able to maybe change jobs. And I was also looking for a place to start my family. I wanted to give my kids a better opportunity. But for the most part of it, I did it for myself, you know. So if you're considering moving in 2025, you need to know the reason. Because at the end of the day, migration is not for everyone. That is why you see people move to Canada or the US, and after some years, they move back. And statistics already shows it that a lot of people actually move back in the first 5 years of moving to Canada, because they probably find it that, oh, it's not a good fit for them. So you need to know the reason you're coming here. If you have a good job already, if you are financially stable in your country, then don't think you want to come to Canada just because of financial stability, because you already have what you think you're coming to Canada to get. And so that you are not disappointed, it's better to just stay put and not come to Canada, you know. And if right now you have good prospects in your career, I would say this is a time to actually take a pause and check to be sure that Canada is a good place for you. You need to sit back and do a lot of research. In fact, you can visit the country, visit Canada for a short time so that you can see what is actually happening here, especially in your career, in the industry where you work. Just so that you do not, throw away what you already have for something you are hoping for. So you need to also look at that. So depending on what your reason is, if you already have that thing you're looking for, don't throw it away to find something new in a new country. Because at the end of the day, there's this saying that the grass is greener on the other side, but it's actually greener, on the side that has been watered, right? So depending on your situation, if you're financially stable and the reason you want to move to Canada is for maybe more finance or to make more money or grow your wealth, then you may need to take a pause and visit Canada for a while and to see if it's actually a place that would work for you. Another thing is it depends on where you're coming from, right? What country are you coming from? If if you are coming from somewhere in the tropics where the weather is nice, I would say you should make sure that you you've done a lot of research about Canada, especially about the different provinces and territories in Canada, so that if you're coming from somewhere that is in the tropics, somewhere warm, and you know that you would not like to live in a very cold place, then the place you would want to settle in Canada should be places that are a bit warm. Of course, everywhere is cold in Canada, but some places are really cold. Some places are colder, than others. So you need to also consider that. Do you like the cold? If you if you don't like the cold, then if you end up deciding to come to Canada, make sure you choose a province or a territory. All the territories are cold anyway. Choose a province that is not very cold, or make sure you choose a city that is not as cold as the coldest parts of Canada. You know, Another thing I wanted to talk about is for people who say they're coming to Canada to give their kids better opportunity. So I realized that, look, what type of opportunity are you talking about? Are you talking about the kind of education? If it is the kind of education and your kids don't have very maybe access to very good education in where you're coming from, then it makes sense, right? But if your kids already have very good quality education, and by quality education, I'm talking about the curriculum, I'm talking about what they actually teach in those schools, then you know that if you're coming to Canada and you want excellent curriculum, like something extra, not the normal teaching methods, you're going to have to do more work. You'll probably be looking at Montessori schools or private education for your children because public education in Canada right now, if you go online, you would see that people complain every time about things that are being taught in schools. So if you're moving to Canada because of your kids, you're going to have to do a lot of research and a lot of work also because they are not going to teach your students everything they need to know in school. So you're still going to do a lot of work. So if you're already doing all that work where you're coming from, don't think that coming to Canada is going to change anything. Or if you're not doing all the extra work to help your kids do well in school and all that from where you're coming from, don't think that when you get to Canada, then a magic is going to happen. Don't be deceived. In fact, it might even be worse because, now we see people considering taking their kids to private schools, considering taking their kids to back home in Africa for schooling, and all that. So look at that factor also, you know. Um, but basically, at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. It's a personal decision for you to make. So make sure that you're making an informed choice. In If you're coming to Canada for the opportunities, know that when you get to Canada, you're going to face a lot of challenges. It's not going to be easy. So that you don't join the group of people who are always complaining about, oh, I moved to Canada and oh, they asked me to, to start over and all that. Prepare your mind that it's going to take a lot of work, right? You might not get that choice kind of work that you were doing from back home or that you think. And basically, I know it's not the fault of us immigrants that a lot of the time we get to actually take a role a bit lower than what we were doing from back home, but because of the system in place in Canada. So they keep asking you for Canadian experience. So if you're a newcomer in Canada, how do you get that Canadian experience if someone doesn't, take a chance on you? So be ready to, go a bit lower than what you expect. Just because right now, even in Canada, the job outlook, outlook, or what's it called, is not the best. So you must be willing to put in the work, and you must be able to start, with whatever you get. You must be able to start with whatever you get, and which I believe is the strength of immigrants. It's not something so easy to pull up your life and move to somewhere new. But that's our strength as immigrants because we are able to start over. We're able to start over in a new country where we probably don't know anyone, and we are still able to make do with what we get. And hopefully, the system gets better such that people are able to actually, get good jobs at the point of landing and all that. But right now, that is not the case, So you have to also prepare your mind. So that's basically it. It's a personal decision. Know the reason you are coming here and be prepared for it. If you are doing very well in your home country, maybe you should stay put and wait till maybe the economy is better or something. And if you still make that decision that you're coming to Canada anyways, be prepared to put in the work. And also, if you have that option, it might be a good time to, come in and visit for some time just to see what's up, maybe to also look for a job, and all that before making your final decision, you know. At the end of the day, it's a personal decision. And for me, I would say it's been worth it for me coming to Canada with my family. And I'm forever grateful to God for all the opportunities. That being said, thank you so much for watching so far. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat. I'll be looking into the chat now just to see. Yeah, I'll be looking into the chat so you can drop a question. I can see someone said they agree. Yeah, you must know your why. Yeah, exactly. You must know your why. It's a personal decision. Thank you, Emmett Chili. Thank you, Obina. Yeah, it's a very personal decision, and and it's better to come in here as a permanent resident. Yes, that is correct. It is better to come in to Canada as permanent resident. In fact, talking about permanent resident now, a lot of things have changed, and I just look at it. It's not worth it coming into Canada as a student right now because things are just changing. And even for students that are currently here, I don't know. I'm not sure how they're managing, So it's not easy. Right now, the best way if you're coming to Canada, just come in as a permanent resident already. Like, don't do the student route. It's not worth it. But at the end of the day, it's a personal choice, and it's not impossible even if you come in as a student, it's not like it's not all doom and gloom. It's, you know, your the opportunity is there, and of course you can make use of it. All right, so that was a very quick one. I don't have any other chats, any other questions in the chat. I can